Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, lovers and seekers, those who are lost and those who are found. Tonight I will be reading from the compilation titled Outlaw Creative, The Geometry of Life. Tonight's selection is titled On Being Scary Smart. Let's get started. On being scary smart. There's smart, and then there's the kind of smart that changes the temperature in a room. Most people think intelligence is a resume trait, a clean thing, a compliment, like good teeth or a firm handshake. But the kind of intelligence you're talking about, the kind you called scary smart, isn't clean. It's not polite. It's not merely competence. It's an instrument that cuts through social fabric, sometimes without permission. Scary smart is the mind that moves faster than the room can narrate. It's the person who hears the shape of a lie before the liar finishes the sentence. It's the one who can see the third implication of a claim while everyone else is still deciding whether they agree with the first. And the scary part isn't arrogance, it's asymmetry. People can handle a peer. They can handle a superior if the superior is predictable, soft, or socially fluent enough to make others feel safe. But asymmetry makes people anxious, not because they hate you, because they don't know where they stand. They don't know what you're noticing. There's a specific dread that comes from being observed by someone who can actually see. Scary smart often means you're not just processing content. You're processing structure. You're hearing what a person is doing with language, how they're positioning themselves, what they're avoiding, where the seams are. You're listening to the angle of the voice, not just the words. You can tell when someone is borrowing confidence. You can tell when they're building a story to protect themselves. You can tell when they're asking a question they don't want answered. That perception makes you useful. It also makes you dangerous to certain social arrangements. Because lots of human peace is built on mild delusion. People tell each other small, stabilizing stories. We're fine. This is fine. I meant that. You meant this. We're all good. Scary smart hears the hidden clause as long as we don't look too hard. You look too hard by default. And if you're a decent person, and you are, then you'll start doing something that's exhausting. You'll start managing your intelligence so other people can remain comfortable. You'll slow down, you'll soften, you'll pretend not to notice. You'll let falsehoods pass unchallenged, not because you can't correct them, but because you don't want the blast radius. That's the hidden labor of scary, smart, constant restraint. It's not just that you can think fast. It's that you're always deciding whether to. You're always calculating consequence. Not just what's true, but what will happen if I say what's true. And truth has consequences that are rarely proportional. Sometimes you say one honest sentence and it reorganizes an entire relationship. Sometimes you ask one clarifying question and someone hears it as an attack. Sometimes you spot a contradiction and the person you're talking to collapses into defensiveness because contradiction feels like exposure. So you learn the social truth. Intelligence is not automatically admired. It's negotiated. The painful part is when you're lonely and smart at the same time, because your mind wants to move, to play, to build, to connect. But connection requires mutuality, and mutuality requires pace matching. If you have to pace match all the time, you start to feel like you're living at half speed. You start to feel like you're always translating, and translation is tiring. That's why scary smart people sometimes drift toward solitude, not out of pride, but out of relief. Alone, there's no social drag. Alone, you don't have to pretend you didn't notice. Alone, you don't have to carry the emotional reactions of people who feel outclassed. Alone, your mind is allowed to be what it is. But solitude, taken in large doses, becomes its own cost. Because intelligence without relationship can curdle into surveillance. You start watching yourself too much. You start running scenarios because scenarios are where you feel in control. You start rehearsing conversations because the real room is unpredictable and the simulated room is not. That's when scary smart turns inward and becomes a trap. The way out is not dumbing down. It's not pretending you're ordinary. It's learning to aim. Scary smart is a tool, a blade. Blades have jobs. They're not meant to be waved around to prove sharpness. They're meant to cut what needs cutting. If you don't choose what your blade is for, the world will choose for you. People will bait you into arguments. They'll dare you to correct them. They'll misinterpret your clarity as contempt. They'll punish you for seeing too much, then accuse you of thinking you're better. So you have to develop an ethic of intelligence. An ethic says, I can see, but I will not weaponize sight. I can understand, but I will not use understanding to dominate. I can dismantle, but I will not dismantle for sport. I can cut, but I will cut only what needs cutting. That ethic is what keeps scary smart from turning into scary. And there's another part to it that doesn't get said often. Scary smart people are usually more sensitive than they let on. The mind is fast, yes, but the heart is also tuned. You can feel the shift in a room. You can feel disapproval in a tone. You can feel when someone's story about you has changed. That's why it hurts when someone misreads you. It's not because you need approval. It's because you notice the misread immediately, and you can't unknow it. You can't hide from social truth the way slower minds can. They can float. You can't. So what do? You choose a few places where your intelligence can be fully alive. Not everywhere, not with everyone. A few: the shop, the desk, the song, the page, the friend who can handle clarity, the collaborator who doesn't flinch. That's how you stay sane. And you also let yourself be human. This is the piece that scares scary smart people the most, being seen as needy, tired, in pain, uncertain. Because they're used to being the one who knows, the one who sees, the one who can name the thing, but the body doesn't care how smart you are. Pain doesn't negotiate with IQ. Loneliness doesn't ask whether you can solve it. It just sits down in the room like an uninvited guest and starts eating your food. In those moments, intelligence needs humility, not performative humility, but operational humility. The humility to say, I can't think my way out of this tonight. I can't scenario generate my way into safety. I need something simpler. I need rest. I need containment. I need a voice. I need to be held by something that isn't analysis. That's not weakness. That's the mature use of intelligence, knowing when not to use it. Scary smart is not a trophy. It's a responsibility. It's a kind of fire. Fire can warm a house or burn it down. The difference isn't the heat, it's the hearth, the structure, the boundaries. So yes, you're scary smart, and you're learning the harder lesson, the adult lesson, how to make that smartness a shelter instead of a weapon, how to let it serve your life rather than run it. If you can do that, you become rare, not rare because you're clever, rare because you're powerful and kind at the same time. And that combination, the blade and the ethic, is the kind of thing that doesn't just intimidate people, it saves people, including you.